in just telling 1 hour of coherent television, which leads us nicely on to the return. I'm sitting, if you're not watching on YouTube right now, I'm sitting on the Iron Throne here. Swear to God, it's not just a Zoom background. Ignore the weird halo around my head. Um, but yeah, very excited. I'm drinking from my House of the Dragon water bottle. I am in full mode here. Season 2, episode 1, A Son for a Son. We're going to recap it, the last recap of this week. So we'll talk you through kind of what happened and put you back into the mindset ahead of giving our own thoughts. And we open on the familiar strings of Winterfell. As it turns out, Jace's dragon journey north took so long, it actually aged him a couple of years. That's weird. Winter's coming. So take a shot for anyone who predicted they'd say that, as he meets Cregan Stark, who, like his ancestor, knows nothing. But this time he actually knows nothing about Luce's death until a Raven informs them both. Rhaenyra has gone missing, which Rhaenys explains to Daemon, who's ready to scrap Vader right now. Vader, sorry, not Vader, that's Jerry's dog, that she's in denial and looking for evidence before morning. After finding it via half a dragon's wing washing up on a beach that she was conveniently staring forlornly at, she demands Aemon's head. I'll say that again. Aemon's head. Not any little blonde lad's head, not his cousin's head, not Al Snow's head. She wants Aemon's head. Aemon's head. Speaking ahead, we return to King's Landing to find Sir Criston Cole giving it to Alicent. She says they can never do that again. And every time some highborn has told Criston that, it's only ever ended well. So good luck with that one, Alicent. Aegon takes Jaehaerys to what would be his first and turns out last small council meeting. And he didn't even get to play pony with Tywin Lannister. Devastated for Jaehaerys. Tensions were high as the Greens are frustrated at Aemon losing the element of the surprise, which has Otto and Alicent at odds, and Larys wanking his way through the corridors of power as he pitches that Aegon might benefit from a replacement hand because Otto is wrecking the fun of just giving the people what they ask for, which seems to be Aegon's plan as king. I have a feeling that our hand of the king maybe Otto looks soon, Jerry. What do you think? Haha, that's my worst one yet. The side of Masari is stowing away in a ship sail for Dragonstone, which apparently made her lose her weird accent from season 1. Gives Daemon a light bulb moment, which is always fucking dangerous, to land a blow in this war. He enlists the King's Landing equivalent to 2 lads scrapping in front of the portal on Talbot Street to assassinate Aemon in the dead of night. What they did was the equivalent of essentially running the entire pitch in a game of FIFA, dribbling masterfully past every opposition player, using every skill in their book, getting one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and then just blasting the power bar so far that it sails right over the bar and everyone forgets how good it was to build up. They get past a drunken Aegon. They manage to bluff the Wish version of Emma Stone, Handmaiden, only to assassinate the wrong fucking Targaryen, as poor Jaehaerys literally gets it in the neck. He was a little bit of a shit at the small council meetings, but he didn't deserve that. Poor Shellshock Helena can only grab Jaehaerys and walk in on Criston and her mother, doing well with the whole let's not ride again plan, and tell them what had happened, getting double the trauma. Trauma followed by trauma. How bad is her life in those few minutes? She's watched her child and heard the horrific sounds of her child's head getting sewn off, and then walks into her ma having sex. That is the worst 5 minutes of anyone's life ever. And that was season 2, episode 1, A Son for a Son. Jerry, this was directed by Game of Thrones royalty and kind of, well, Westeros royalty, by Alan Taylor, and written by showrunner Ryan Condal. And it is supposed to, I suppose, the first normal episode of this after the time jumps and the kind of historical context and the prologue of season 1. We're settling into the day-to-day of the realm. And how's this show settling with you? Was this a return to form? Are you still loving it? Do you miss the time jumps? What are your thoughts?
I watched this last night, and the very first thing after the new kind of starting credits, which was fantastic, by the way. I love the fact that they've given it something different for this show, which is the tapestry. Still loving the Game of Thrones music, fantastic. As soon as you get into it, you hear that music, and I think the song is called Farewell Brother. And it just, when you think about exactly what happened, so the very first thing you see is a raven. The raven is flying towards Winterfell. It's clearly the raven that's bringing the message to the prince that his brother is dead. And the fact that the Winterfell music, or the music that leads to Winterfell, is Farewell Brother. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, oh, we're back.
Yeah.
And we're back in a big fucking way. This is giving me peak Game of Thrones vibes
Yes.
immediately. And I'm like, don't fuck it up, lads. Please don't fuck it up like them two gobshites did with the end of Game of Thrones. Don't fuck it up. This was fantastic. The fact that we got to see is Cregan Stark, I think. Cregan Stark. And I'm like, I'm looking at the two of them, him and the prince are like, you fucking little bromance going on here now. And I tell you now, you could see the two of them running off together, I tell you, if that's what was going to happen, which of course it's not. Fantastic to see him. And he was very much giving me Ned Stark vibes, because obviously it is his ancestor. We got to see ice strapped to his fucking back. And I'm like, this guy is big enough that it's strapped to his back. He could just take it off. I'm like, this isn't the mountain, but fuck me. This guy is big, and he's carrying this huge, huge broadsword on his back. I love the fact that he's standing on top of the wall. He's saying there's worse things out there than, what's happening down at King's Landing. We're protecting the realm from something worse. And he says, we're protecting it from death. And when he said that, I was like, this is great. But then I laughed. I'm like, yeah, protected from death, and death lasted the whole 5 minutes in the last season. So, like,
death is a jobber.
Yeah, what the fuck does it matter? Absolutely brilliant. Just after that, then we jump into Sir Kristen having a snack on the Queen, and I'm like, well, if the both of them aren't the pot on the kettle black, I'm like, yes, dirty shower of bastards. That's all. The two of them. Two absolute fucking hypocrite motherfuckers. Yeah. I'm like, you absolute fuckers.
I do want to get into Alicent,
though,
because I have a hot take. I do want to get into it, but kind of high level thoughts on the episode. You're feeling very much Game of Thrones is back.
I tell you what, from start to finish, to really sad slow start to holy fuck finish. We are back. We are back in a big way. 100% Game of Thrones, and I mean peak Game of Thrones vibes. I'm talking about, the Battle of the Wall. I'm talking about Battle of Winterfell. I'm talking about the Battle of the Bastards. I'm talking about like any of the kind of, the way they always did the second last episode of Game of Thrones season was obviously the really big ones. This is the first episode of fucking season. And we're getting this year, like, sweet Jesus Christ. Like, what? Like, this is the thing. I know the entire story. I know who dies. I know how they die. I know what happens in the end. And I'm still hyped. And I'm like, yes, fucking hook this shit to my veins. We've talked about 3 shows in this so far. To me, though, this has just come fucking shoot me straight to the fucking moon. You have captured me straight away. Yes.
Yeah. We're back. We're back. I totally agree. This was an old school Game of Thrones episode in the best way.
Yeah.
They got it. They got the feeling back from. It's rare that you get that kind of special feeling, and we get it for certain things. Like, you're in the cinema, it's a new Avengers movie, and the Marvel scroll starts playing, and you're like, oh shit, Star Wars, the scroll, and sitting in that cinema. It's late Sunday night, stupid hours, and all of a sudden you're watching the Game of Thrones, you're listening to the Game of Thrones team, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh shit. And this show with this episode, for me, now justifies that feeling. It gives you exactly what you want. In a way that sometimes we get excited for the Marvel scroll, and then what we watch is like, yeah, that was okay. Same with Star Wars sometimes, it can deflate you sometimes when you have those moments. This didn't. This lived up to that iconic theme song. This lived up to the memories that we had. This helped us forget the disappointment we felt with the last season. I didn't hate the time jumps to season 1. I loved season 1, and I got it. A lot of people didn't, and I do get why they didn't. But for me, the only thing that really got me was losing the likes of Millie Maycock, who smashed it as young Rhaenyra. She was great, and we lost a really good part that I want to just spend more time with her. But with this episode, and I wasn't sure until this episode, apart from maybe the two lead performances of Alicent and Rhaenyra, now I feel we've got the cast that we need and that can carry this. I feel confident in that. This is the stuff. Taking the time to get into the small council meetings and sit with the characters, sit with their quandaries, sit with their complexities, how they come to make the decisions that they make in a way that we just couldn't do in season one because it just had to cover so much ground in so little time, which makes when plans go wrong like it did here so much better, so much more satisfying, so much more tragic. Like season one just didn't have time, and I do want to discuss the ending, and I won't get into it now, but like the 10-minute sequence with characters we'd never met before. This show is now telling us what it is and what it's going to be. It's slower pace, but it's the pace that we liked Game of Thrones to be. But it has the stakes where shit's going down. There's some great small pieces that we probably won't get to focus on. Like for me, maybe the best scene in this was Jace's scene crying with Rhaenyra, as well as the new titles we got. I love the new titles. I love showing it like a historical tapestry, as well as showing us that we're kind of now settling in with these characters. These are the characters we're going to be with. That's the difference. We're not getting into the symbolism of the season one credits was this is the history of the Targaryens. It was big, it was broad, it was vast, and that made sense with the time jumps that were covering so much time. Now it's like, no, these are the characters and they're writing their history. But the fact that it is a tapestry and we're seeing this history being written before us kind of gives it a really tragic feel, because it feels like there's a sense of inevitability now. Like this is all written. This is now in the history books. There's nothing anyone can do to stop it. Wrong choices are going to be made. Characters are going to die. It's going to be devastating. And there's nothing anyone can do but tune in every fucking week. And I'm going to. Amazed. This was brilliant. And I'm going to kick off with another hot take. Okay? Maybe a hot take, maybe not. I was chatting to a couple of people in work today, and I'm not alone with this. I like Alicent. I think Alicent is the best player of the game in this show. She is the only person who has pretty much everyone's number and everyone's card marked here. She's the only person capable of taking emotion out of it and seeing things from, she's seeing the board. She's Littlefinger. She's Varys. She gets it. She sees Otto as an overambitious snake. She sees Rhaenyra as not so bad after all. She can see that. She's definitely right to feel really weird about letting Larys handmaiden spay her. That's not good. Like, that's whatever they're doing, it's not good. The only misjudgment she made throughout all of this is writing Kristen Cole, which, again, I loved the hypocrisy of it. I loved the fact that, you know, she's doing the thing that she fell out with Rhaenyra for. I love the little pieces of character that we see in her. Like this may have gone under the radar. She legitimized Lucerys in this. He was Lucerys strong to her. That's how she taught her children to revere him. But when she's paying tribute to him, even after all that's gone on with her and Rhaenyra, and the fact that they're destined for war, when she's lighting a candle, when nobody's around, she calls him Valerian. And I'm like, this is a good person in a shit situation. But also, I like the fact that she seems to have Otto's number. And I want to talk about whether he's in for it as well. His days are numbered. What are your thoughts on Alicent and kind of the Hightowers? Because for me, they're the fascinating part of this episode, at least.
Alicent's a bitch.
Whoa!
Simple as fucking that.
And
it's because of the hypocrisy of, she talked about duty and she talked about sacrifice and this and that with Rhaenyra, but yet she goes and does the exact same fucking thing. Like, her husband's not that long dead, and all of a sudden she's off riding Sir Kristen fucking Cole. And I'm like, no. You know, I can understand those little tiny moments of humanity that she shows with the prayers, with the, when Otto is looking at her going, well, if we had just killed Rhaenyra, we wouldn't be going through this right now. And he kind of looks at her because it's her fault that, you know, they didn't just go and fucking murder an era. So I get that. I get you say like she's a bit more human, there's a bit more to her, but she's still a fucking bitch. I'm sorry, but no, she just is. It's the whole hypocrisy behind it. It's like she could have ended this before it fucking began, but she just didn't. She just didn't. And part of her does believe that on his deathbed, Aerys, Viserys, sorry, it is Viserys.
Yeah, Viserys, yeah.
Viserys did actually say, no, Aegon is going to be, and I get that, that's fine. But I know a lot of people are like, no, Rhaenyra is the real bad guy in this. It's Alicent is innocent, blah, blah. No, fuck no. Absolutely not, no. You see, Alicent knew what her father was doing right from the beginning, and she just went along with it. Okay. So no, she's not in any way a good person. She has little moments of humanity, but I'm sure every fucking bad person that has ever lived had little moments of humanity. Okay. No. She knew exactly what was happening from the very beginning, from when she was young, from when she was going in and reading to Viserys, from when she was fucking riding Viserys and then obviously married him. No, she knew exactly what was coming. She knew exactly what was going on. She knew exactly what her father wanted. And to say anything else, no. I get what you're saying, absolutely, but no.
Does that make her a bad person, or does that make her a product?
No, it just makes her a fucking bitch.
But does that not make her a product of the environment that she lives in? Like, is she not just playing the game as it is, and the game itself is the thing that's not pretty here? Like, again, I cannot defend writing Kristen Cole. He's a little incel. He's a freak. Like, I cannot defend writing him. But it's delicious. Like, she is a fascinating character. Okay, yeah. No, look, we'll continue this debate, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure as time goes on. I want to talk about Aegon. Otto uses the phrase, when the king speaks, all hear it. Let's talk about his performance as king so far. It's the first time we've really got to see him in action. Yeah. If all hear what he says, what are we hearing based on what we've seen and heard him say?
I have to say now, this episode surprised me when it comes to Aegon.
Yeah.
It really, really did. He's funny. When he goes and he's like, where's my son? And his wife is like, he's at his lessons. I'm like, where? I want to bring him to the small council. He needs to learn. Come on, where is he? And then he makes the little joke about all the handmaids. My wife, she's a bit like, Then he goes to the small council, and he's actually commanding. He's a bit more like, didn't expect this from Aegon. I really, really didn't. He didn't want this. He didn't want to be king. But then the real shocker for me was when he sat the Iron Throne, and one of the small folk, all my sheep are gone. We're going to replace your fucking sheep. We're going to make you whole. We're going to make you good again. I was like, we can't do that. Oh, fuck's sake, Grandad. Like, Jesus Christ. I'm really sorry we can't. But, we'll give you some money. We'll sort you out. Next one. But he seems more human.
Yeah.
He's less of a dick, which it's mental because, I think of his mother as more of a bitch, whereas he's now less of a dick. Now, that's going to change come the next episode. Guaranteed.
Okay, don't be giving away spoilers here.
No. This is not a spoiler.
Okay.
Because all you have to do is look at what happened at the end of this episode. In this episode as well, he wanted to bring his son, his firstborn son, to the council meeting to show him the ways of ruling, to show him that this is what your daddy does, and this is what you're going to do when I'm gone. How the fuck do you think he's going to react when he sees that his heir no longer has a head?
Yeah.
In the most gruesomely sounding fucking death we've ever had in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
We've had many deaths in Game of Thrones. We have gruesome shit. We've had mad shit go on, but nothing like the sound of that poor child's head coming off its shoulders. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. I sat there and went, holy fuck. I pulled the dog close to me. I was like, it's okay. It's okay, Jeremy. It's okay, Jeremy. It was fucking gruesome. And what do you think his reaction is going to be? This is not me spoiling anything, because you don't get the kind of you don't get these nuances in the book, because it's more of a compilation. This book, this is not like the Game of Thrones novels. It's not like that exactly.
Yeah.
So what way is he going to react? He's going to react like a father reacts. He's going to go absolutely batshit fucking crazy. But this is
I don't know about a farter. I don't think he's gonna be like a farter. Yeah, like I think he's doing well in the dad ratings. I think he's a better king than he's a dad.
yeah, okay. But the thing
Clearly.
is, but the thing is, that's going to be the whole thing. Is like my son
Yeah.
has just been murdered by Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
You know,
I think what's interesting here, okay, and I agree to a point, right? He's not a dad, he's a narcissist. Okay. So his son isn't his son. He would not react how Jerry would react if, God forbid, something similar happens. I
yeah,
don't even want to put that out there, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
Because you're a loving father, you care, and there's everything there. Aegon is a narcissist, so he sees Jaehaerys as a reflection of him. So
Mm-hmm.
now what's happened to Aegon and what will change him? And it won't massively change the reaction, but it will. It is important, an important distinction for us to understand. I feel he has now skin in the game. Okay, he never gave a shit about anything. He didn't want to be the king. He just wanted to fuck around in the bells of a brothel. You know what I mean? Of a pleasure dome. Um,
I get that.
like that's all he wanted, and he didn't care about what went on. If his cousin died, so what? Like this is just an inconvenience, and now he's like actually trying to step up. And again, like let's not forget, this is the same guy who raped his handmaiden, and he is a bad person for all intents and purposes. He's a sick fuck. He is when the gods create a Targaryen, they flip a coin, and he is definitely on the other side of that to his father and to a large part of his of the relatives involved here. He's more on the side of Joffrey, but he's not Joffrey. He has a bit of savvy there, trying to win the small folk over.
Yeah,
Is he knowledgeable? Can he see the big picture? Not necessarily, but there is intent there, and there's actually wanting to be a good king. This will throw that out of kilter because now he's got skin in the game. Now he has an extension of himself that's been offended in his ego, and that tends to send narcissists crazy. The problem as well, though, for Aegon, and I think this is a small thing we need to look out for, but I think it's going to be crucial, is he's he's focused on inspiring the public and the small folk, which is a good strategy. It's something we've actually never seen a king, even good kings like Viserys, even like Robert Baratheon in Game of Thrones. We've never seen a king actually give a shit about the small folk. This is the first time we've seen that on screen, and he does. The problem is he's overlooking the people around him. He's bullying Tywin Lannister. The small council seem at their wits' end with him. Otto and Alicent are just like competing with Aemon and Kristen, like who are playing fantasy football in all trying to manipulate him. No one respects him, like, and he's pissing people off. So he's a live wire and perhaps a liability as a king as well. And it mightn't suit everyone involved for him to be king if they can think of a better option. And I think that's something to be watchful for and interesting in. And you add emotional volatility to that already combustible situation. I think that's a very interesting one. I think him and Otto are. I would be surprised if him and Otto both made it to the end of the season. I don't know anything more. I've only read Fire and Blood up to the end of season one.
mm-hmm.
So I haven't read. I stopped at the chapter A Son for a Son because that was episode one name. But anyway, that's where I kind of feel we're going with the Greens. Let's look at the Blacks now. Not much going on because the only thing Rhaenyra said, she had 4 words in this episode, is I want Aemon Targaryen. Okay, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ending the plan. Obviously, Daemon is like, a bull, a caged animal, ready to get out and do something. And that's set into motion one of the ballsiest 10-minute scenes in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon history, following Cheese and Blood, 2 characters we've never met before, on their botched assassination attempt. They were doing so well until they weren't. Let's look at this. I want to get your thoughts on this, potential consequences. And like, again, let's take that from the plan. I also want to give context as well, though, okay? Actually, if you want, you can talk about, this is different from the book. And we can talk about how it does differ because there are significant differences. Because if you thought this was sick, Jerry, tell them what happens in the book.
So, in Jesus, this particular scene, the blood and cheese scene, for me, having only ever visualized it in your head after reading it, is quite different. Now, the outcome is not that different. A child fucking dies. A child gets decapitated. That's
Jaehaerys as
essentially
well.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
So it is particularly bad what happens. But in the books, basically, the characters are somewhat similar in the books, but they're not exactly the same. They are an ex-gold cloak and they are a rat catcher. So yes, that much is true. They go in and ideally what they're supposed to do is to get Aemond. Now, what I found it very interesting is when they opened that kind of secret door, they went straight into his room. I'm like, oh, he was there a minute ago. Where the fuck's he gone, the bastard? What happened in the books compared to this scene is there's three children in the books. So there's the youngest boy, you've got the daughter, and then you've got the heir. Basically, in a way, it's kind of very similar to the books. Is that it's I can't remember the queen's name. It's Helena.
And the other children are, you have Jaehaerys, Jaehaera, and in the books there's Maelor as well.
Maelor,
so
that's
there's a third child that they just kind of wrote out of this. In an Iron Claw, it would be too sad if we included the extra kid in
yes, exactly.
kind of way, yeah.
So basically, Blood and Cheese in the books do kind of a similar thing. It's like they make her choose. They make the queen choose. And in the books, she is distraught. She is screaming, panicking, doesn't know what the fuck to do. So she chooses the younger, which is Maelor, which is the youngest. And they decide, oh, so you're going for the youngest. Okay, no, they kill the oldest. So they kill the heir. So it's essentially what they did in the show. In the show, though, what they did was they made it that she chose the heir. And like, he's the heir. And they're like, no, well, we're going to go to the other one. And no, she's telling the truth. So the fact that they have changed her ever so slightly, she's not quite the way she is in the book. She's a bit more kind of coherent in the book. She's not quite as like dreamy, I suppose. And of course, either way, whether it's the book or the show, this is the thing that sets her off the deep end to the point where she picks up her remaining living child, listening to the other child getting brutally murdered, runs into her mother's room to see her riding the fucking Kingsguard, but doesn't react. So that shows you just how fucked up that scene was for her. This, when you think of the grand scheme of things in Game of Thrones and everything that has happened, even the Red Wedding song, this is probably the most brutal fucking thing that has ever happened in Game of Thrones because it involved the death of a young child. In the book, it wasn't along the lines of they went to his bed and they chopped his head off. Like, that's good. It sounded fucking. I can hear it now. It's horrible.
It's disgusting.
In the book, Blood simply takes a sword and lobs his head off, and clearly we were never going to see either of those things because it's a fucking child. You can't show that shit. Just hearing it. Jesus Christ.
It was worse. It was the old Reservoir Dogs thing of when they take the ear off from Reservoir Dogs, and it's actually worse when the camera pans away because then your imagination fills in the blanks. Because all we know and all we could see of it was almost like they were doing it with a fucking pocket knife, which was more disgusting because you could hear the bones breaking, you could hear the blood.
I think they were. You saw what the dagger Cheese had up to the Queen's neck.
Yeah.
It's essentially what they used. These little daggers. I'm like, Jesus Christ. It was fucking brutal. But, and again, no spoilers here. I want you to imagine what is the reaction going to be from number 1, Aegon, number 2, Aemond, number 3, Otto. Then you've got Sir Criston, and of course, the Queen, well, I suppose Queen Mother now, Alicent. I think whatever love Alicent had or whatever humanity Alicent had towards Rhaenyra, gone. Absolutely gone. Sir Criston's going to go batshit crazy because he should have been there. He was tasked to be there to protect the Queen, to protect his, the royal heirs. And where was he? He was off riding the Queen Mother. Where were the rest of the guards? This is the fucking Red Keep at a time where this is a possibility. They know what Aemond is like. It is Daemon. They know what Daemon is like. They know exactly what type of person he is. And you don't post guards outside every fucking room? What? What were they thinking? So there's going to be, I tell you, There's going to be a lot of accusations here. There's going to be like, where were you? What were you doing? What was going on? Where, like, why did this happen? How did this happen? Blah, 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 blah. But when we say that, like, this hadn't really started yet, there was no actual war yet. Sure, they were getting ready, but fuck me, is it going to explode from episode 2?
Yeah.
It's going, this is boom, we're going, this is not a slow, this was the only slow burn that we're actually going to get throughout this whole season. We're now going overdrive from episode 2. It's just going to be war, blood, killing, dragons fighting dragons. Fucking can't wait.
Yeah, it's great. I love this. I got into an interesting discussion with someone who'd read the books today and was like, actually they hadn't read the books, but they'd heard, like me, this is the way they tell it in the books. And they're like, I'd have loved to see that. And I'm like, yeah, it is more fucked up, but I did like this because this focused us on what we need to focus on. I liked the edits they made because, again, now we can clearly understand the stakes of that because even though it is way more fucked up and evil that they made Helena do almost so have that Sophie's Choice moment, which was horrific in itself. If you just think about that, and I've watched it like 3 times now, that particular sequence, and it only gets worse every time you watch it, and because you're thinking more about what the characters are thinking and what they're going through. It does make you wonder if she saw it coming, why she didn't, do something about it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, my child's gonna die, nothing I can do. And it's like, yeah. But anyway, like, it was awful to see because she is one of the only good eggs on this show, one of the only pure, actual good people that we can count on in this. And now she had to suffer the biggest tragedy. What I loved about this as well, though, was like, when I was discussing the Walking Dead spin-off last week, The Ones Who Live, I'm a big fan of shows making space for grief because too often you'll get a major death of a character and the characters in the show will just kind of shake it off and move on to next week. The Walking Dead did this the whole time. Like, the next series is like on to the next mission and this is what we're doing because the plot demands it. But I loved the fact we only got 4 again. Like, we left season 1 with Rhaenyra's steely face and you're like, oh shit. And we expected that. We didn't get that from Rhaenyra. We got this in denial, catatonic, mess of a mother who just can't accept it until she sees physical evidence. And then we only get 4 words from her. And now we're clear that she just wants vengeance. She's out for blood. I loved the way that opened up for Daemon to get enough space to be the overly aggressive psycho while also thinking he's a puppet master here to create this absolute shit show. This is Daemon's shit show. And keep in mind as well, if you haven't thought about it yet, I want you to go back and watch it again and watch that scene of because you're like, why were they so relaxed? Why were they not more focused on Aemond? Like, that's what we're looking for. There's a scene where I don't know which one, Blood or Cheese, asks Daemon, what if we can't find him? And they never give the answer to that, but you can infer that from the way they spoke in the bedroom with Helena, that Daemon's answer was just get a son for a son is what they wanted. So Aemon's plan A, a son for a son is plan B. So Daemon went way off script because Rhaenyra never sanctioned this. And Rhaenyra, as a mother, would never sanction Daenerys being killed. She would sanction Aemon because he's a little fucking psychopath and an adult, like, who made his own decisions. She would never, ever sanction this. So don't underestimate the impact this will have on the Blacks as well. This is a big, bold move by Daemon. The scene itself was terrifying. Like, just like not only the end scene that we speak of, but the whole sequence, like them casually walking past Aegon. Aegon is right there. Aegon's a psycho. He's drunk. At any stage, Aegon can be like, and there's a dog in here as well. Like, why he could just be like, give me the dog. What's happening with the dog? And you're just like, oh my God, they're gonna get caught. This is too close. This is too fucking close for comfort. It's like Frenchie and Kimiko and the boys. Like, every mission they're on, they're just walking casually past the bad guys who at no stage are going, That's the boys. Like, that's Billy Butcher's, man. You know what I mean? It was that tense where it's just like, oh my God. Then you've got that thing where you're almost like, am I rooting for these people? Because fuck the Greens, like they're dickheads. Do I want them to succeed? Fuck Aemond, like, but there's a part of me who doesn't want them to kill Aemond, even though fuck Aemond, but I just really want to see Aemond against Daemon. Like, that is our WrestleMania matchup that we need to see. So I'm like, I don't want them to succeed, but I do because fuck the Greens, and I don't know where it's going. And then one of them kicked the dog, and I'm like, die. You can die. Like,
Yeah.
you kick the dog. I hope you get killed slowly, and that's the end of this, and you get boiled. But you knew that wasn't going to happen because how much time and energy they were giving to these characters. You knew it was going somewhere fucked up. And the Sophie's Choice element of it, like, was horrific. But then just we've spoken about how disgusting it was. We don't need to get back into that. If you watched it, your dreams are already haunted. But the consequences of this are so wide ranging, and the tragedy of this is also so horrific. We've seen so many moments in this show where it seems like Rhaenyra and Alicent can just get it together and let common sense prevail at any point. Even in this point, Alicent is kind of seems on the fence. She's sending nice letters to Rhaenyra. She's offering good terms. She wants to get it back together. And the end of the last season was Rhaenyra's jumping off point. There's the point of no return. This is going to be Alicent's. Just as she's trying to offer good terms, just as she's saying a prayer for Luce, like you said, she's going to see this as unforgivable, and all sense and hope of peace is gone. There is nothing left
Mhm.
manning the door. And like you said, speaking of manning the door, Kristen, the questions have to be asked now. Where was he? What was he doing? And Helena knows. And Helena, not one for keeping a secret. She literally says plot spoilers in the middle of the show constantly. We don't know what they mean at the time, but there are plot spoilers. Like, it's like this, as well as what it's going to do mostly to our characters. Kristen and Alicent's affair coming out, which now it kind of has to, there's a massive risk here that threatens to undermine Alicent in a potentially terminal way, just as she's getting Otto back on side, just as she's convincing him, you need me to control the kids, and then you can't undermine me. She's undermined us. Fuck here now. Everyone's exposed. It's a shit show. It's a mess, and we've no way to go. And that is just perfect. Game of Thrones. We're
Yeah,
back.
absolutely. Now, she's not really having an affair because she's not married anymore.
Right.
She's single. She's just riding them. That's not an affair. They're both
Yeah, no,
single.
I agree. I do agree. Like, but obviously everyone's going to be like,
Like
but
dirty bastards, hypocritical fucker and
he's
share
an incel.
bastards that do them.
But
Um,
again,
I,
yeah,
I, I want to talk just very,
go
very
ahead.
briefly. So they've obviously changed a few things from the book. We saw that from the blood and cheese scene, and thing. I
Yeah,
want to talk about the Aemond and Vagar and the Lucerys
yeah,
scene from the previous thing. They did change that. I only realized that recently. How they changed it. In the show, it made it look like Lucerys had attacked Vagar, or his Arax, was it Arax?
yeah.
I think it's Arax. Arax had attacked Vagar, so Vagar decided to go on a little fucking rampage, and then Aemond couldn't control him, and he was like, "No, Vagar, don't do it, no, Vagar, no." Vagar. So then at the end, he's like, "Oh shit, we shouldn't have done this." That is not how it happened in the book. In the book, he used Vagar to attack Lucerys and killed him. And it was very much along the lines of he was attacking Lucerys. Not only that, it's kind of alluded to in the book as well that he found Lucerys' body and carved out his fucking eye.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Here's the thing we need to keep in mind with the book, though, and it's why we can talk about it and not worry too much
yeah,
about spoilers, okay? The book is like the Bible. It's written after the fact. The Fire and Blood, the story of Fire and Blood it is written because Robert Baratheon wants to understand the Targaryens, so he commissions a maester to write a history, and it's essentially a biblical history that's relying on two different sources. There's a maester who lived 30 years after the Dance of Dragons. So they've got a secondhand version of the story. Then you've got a court jester called Mushroom, who essentially is just a dirty bastard and a rumor monger who you can't trust a word that he says. And their two accounts are combined for the Dance of the Dragons. So like we don't know if that's true or if that's just the version that Aemon's put out. You know what I mean? Like, because again, in this, Aemon never admits that that was actually a fuck up. That was a mistake. He's like, yeah, I killed him. Deal with it. I'm badass. You know, he's kind of owning that. So that's probably the story that he told people. But this is actually the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting here. We're now getting this is actually what happened. So even if you've read it, it's not, you can read this book. I'm not going to myself because I just don't want to know who dies. That's just too big for me. But you can read it and you can still be surprised because there's just different accounts. And it's an unreliable narrator story where, again, you don't know if what you're saying is true or if it's bullshit, if it's Damon making shit up and just telling tales like in the pub, and that's become the history. And actually, what he did was actually a bit of a bitch move or whatever. You know, that's kind of the joy of the book. The last thing, Jerry, I want to ask every week. Very tough one because a lot of people took losses this week. Who won this week on House of the Dragon for you? Was there any winners? And if so, who do you think gained the most this week or won? Take it however you want.
Ain't nobody winning this week. This was a no-win scenario this week. Nobody won this week. You look at the very start of it and you see the different black team black or team black points. You see Lucerys, no, not Lucerys. Is it Jaceres?
Jace, yeah.
Jace, yeah. So Jace is at the wall. He's meeting his new bro, fucking Cregan Stark. Fantastic scene. We're on the wall again. Absolutely fantastic. He finds out his brother's dead. Then you see Rhaenyra searching for some evidence that her son is dead. And you see, and the thing is, it's not only her son is dead, it's Cyrex's Arax was Cyrex's child as well. So you've got two mothers grieving over their two sons. Then you've got, which I thought was very well done as well, which was Valerian, Lord Valerian. What the fuck's his name? Yeah, Corlys.
Yeah.
You see him grieving, even though he knows it's not his grandson. It's not his. It's not his grandson. But he grieves anyway. He had this dagger commissioned for him, and I'm like, you can see the hurt and the pain that he's in, and he's like, "Fuck it." It was so well done. But they're in despair, absolute fucking despair over what happened.
Keep in mind too that Corlys lost his brother to protect Luce's kind of place. So like Vaemond was beheaded by Daemon last year because he challenged Luce. And regardless of if he was being a bit of a dick, that's still Corlys's brother. So now he's just lost everyone who could have inherited his
he lost his son, he lost his grandson, and he lost his brother. Yeah. So he's really in an upheaval here. The one person that doesn't seem to be reacting at all was Rhaenys. As she comes back on Meleys and she has that little chat with Daemon, and she was like, "Yeah, I just did 100 hours across the sea. Like, what more do you want me to do? I need a fucking rest. Leave me alone." But she's not grieving like everybody else is, because I think she's just accepting of the fact that that wasn't actually her grandson, but she's now part of Team Black. She has to do her duty, do her job. But she basically, without saying the word, she basically told them to fuck off. I'm like,
oh, she did. Off. Would that you were the king is essentially fuck off.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
But nobody won this week. But I think the only if there is a winner in this whole thing, it's Daemon, because the fact that he finally got to, you know what, we're going to do some shit now, and it's like that thing. Let's commit some war crimes. They said essentially he has now gotten to the leash is now off. However, temporarily the leash is now off him. He went to go and do something that he shouldn't have done. And this is the real thing that starts the war. Lucerys Stein wasn't. There could have possibly been an accommodation. Possibly. But now all bets are off. Yeah. So there is the only winner really this week is Daemon, because he now gets what he wants.
Yeah. And even then, when you look at the consequences of it, I think I don't feel he's going to necessarily come out of this feeling like he's a winner from this, but he did get to cause chaos, and that's what Daemon likes to do. I think there's a very clear winner here, and it's with someone you have to squint for, because it was such a bad episode for everyone involved in terms of consequences. But there was one person who massively profited here. So congratulations to the winner of episode 1 for me, Mysaria, aka the White Worm, got away from King's Landing, got away from Daemon, basically said, "I'm not your sex toy anymore." Can't be blamed for what went down in the Red Keep. She is totally blameless there. She did put him in touch with someone, but he gave the order, a son for a son. She continues to be a survivor in a week where every other principal character took an L. I love the Mazarias of this world. We get them every now and then where it's like, you're just a fucking, you just know how to play this game and you have nothing to your advantage here, just your wits. So well done, Mazaria. I don't know how it's going to go for you in the future. Again, Damon's going to be pissed and whatnot. So I don't know how that's going to go. But for this week, you're my winner anyway. Jerry, we're the winners. We made it. Under 2 hours, we discussed 7 episodes of television. We can do 3 on 40 minutes, like a lot of the time. So I appreciate that. And thank you. I'm sure if we'd have let ourselves off the leash, we could have gone for 6 easily. Jerry, we will be back. And I do want to check in with you on how you're feeling. Even if you're not on the episode, I'd love to check in on how you're feeling on the Acolyte week to week. Because, yeah, that is something we have a vested interest in. But we will be focusing mainly on the boys and House of the Dragon as we go on. But Jerry, thanks so much for joining us. Before we go, Jerry, is there anything you have to plug? And if there's something you have to plug, just tell us something you like in general. Tell us something you're feeling.
Well, as we said at the start of the episode, I got a new dog this week. We have a brand new little black cocker spaniel called Vader. Now we were like, should we call him Vader, because we have another dog, Chewie, and he's literally Chewie's shadow.
Oh.
So he keeps following around. So should we call him Shadow? And my son was like, no, he's Vader. I'm like, oh, okay. Right, sorry. He's a little bastard. That's all I'll say. He's a little bastard. He tortures poor Chewie. He's trying to bite his ears and jump on his back and follows him around, and he just won't leave him alone. But I love him. He's great. We've only got him a couple of days, and he's literally asleep beside me here. He's been great so far. No accidents inside the house. No poos, no peas, until I start recording here, and I look over, and oh, there he is at the shitting on the ground. So
you recorded this entire episode knowing that there's a dog turd feet away from you.
We were 10 minutes in, and I look over and went, I now have to wait. I now have to wait until we're finished here so I can go clean that up.
I'm so sorry, Jerry. That's absolute champ. But also, I love how your plug was for dog shit.
Yeah. Quality dog shit. Buy it at your local store now.
Guys, if you haven't seen it as well, thanks, Jerry. And always a pleasure. If you haven't seen it as well, just before we go, SummerSlam in Woolshed tickets. You're going to find me and Jerry there. Woolshed tickets to the beach party. It is back. The biggest party of the summer comes home. First time we're doing a SummerSlam in Woolshed since 2016, Jerry. 8 years of our lives, nearly a decade. Game of Thrones was good the last time we were in.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
For SummerSlam. But yeah, no, so check that out. Tickets available now at Eventbrite.ie. Check out our The Boys team ad. If you're into this and you're into wrestling, you're into low blows, it's all of those mashed into one. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Jerry, always a pleasure. We'll be catching up as the weeks go on here, but until next week, where we'll be back to discuss The Boys and House of the Dragon, just the one episode of The Boys this time, guys. This has been the Dragon Boys of Summer. For Jerry O'Brien, I've been Jer Leggett, and I swear, stupid people who think they're smart make me want to eat my own shit. I didn't realize that there would be actual shit in play, by the way, when I picked that quote.